Welcome back to Signals on 91.3. Yes, this morning we'll be looking at behavioral science and AI. Somebody called me yesterday and said, Oshodi, your program is very, very serious. It's not my fault. It's mini master classes, right? And artificial intelligence has just been following me since the beginning of the month of July, from education to behavior to somebody interviewing me on AI in journalism and broadcasting. I'm like, see, this is following me up and down. But I have with me someone who I heard her speak, and she will confess by herself. But in the meantime, let me read her bio. She's known as I'm not ready to say that she's a dynamic professional, renowned for her expertise in creating AI technologies that exponentially enhance career, leadership, and team performance through the lens of behavioral science. As the co-founder and director of innovation at Udemy, she leads and co-creates the development of talent matching and decision models and algorithms, including the recent AI product, Precisionmatch, an AI-based talent filtering assessment tool that helps companies find effective candidates to engage from a pool of applicants. With a rich background in product management, she excels in crafting technology solutions that empowers individuals and organizations, harnessing the power of behavioral analytics and AI. Her accolades includes the African Excellence Award for Human Capital Development Technology in West Africa, recognition from Standard Chartered Bank Women in Tech, and a nomination for the Future Africa Awards Young Changemakers in Education. I have with me Omozino Eguh, popularly known as, I'm going to add it, Wizard of Oz. Yes, I was going to do that.
Oh my goodness! Oh, you caught me there.
Yes, I was, because Oz, Wizard of Oz, but this time around it's Scientist Oz. Now, with what are you looking for with artificial intelligence? Give us a background knowledge of how you tiptoe into AI. Because it's a lot. Oh yeah, start confessing. Listeners want to listen to you.
Okay, I mean, thank you. I'm so glad to be here. I'm very excited to be here. I think AI for me was something I just stumbled into out of curiosity, and for me it was just a case of I was trying to solve a problem. I was looking for the most effective means to do that, and then in trying to find that, right, that's how I spotted that the world of machine learning, natural language programming, and then AI, like I was just like, there is something here, like something that we can do with this. This is a tool, this is an exponential tool, this is a valuable tool. And really for me, I just dug in.
STEM. STEM.
Yes, STEM.
Now what, because you are looking at education, and before we started in, you were looking at R&D. So I was wondering, Precisionmatch. We are looking, having CVs. You are doing intersection between CV, match. Explain all of that. Confess all of that. Yes.
Awesome. So really, the human capital at itself. So people, I would usually say, are an asset class.
Yes.
So that people are assets. So how do you, human capital means that you are taking this asset and you're exponentially increasing it so that it can 10x performance and give like better results, right? And so when we're doing that, we have to look at what are the ways that, what's the value chain, and what are the ways that we can optimize human capital performance, right? So it starts from talent discovery. It starts from, and there are many dimensions. There's the individual, their career progression, their career pathway. There's a business that is trying to innovate and solve problems in their society, in their community. How do they find the people that are effective to work with? Now, digging into that then opens up like a rabbit hole of all the issues. So they're like, you have your CV that you can use. The person tells you, this is what I've done, or this is my evidence, I've done this, and they present it to you, and you have a first call conversation or 2 interviews.
And CV does not match the voice.
It doesn't match, or it doesn't even match like
the person.
Like, okay, what's going on here? What I'm reading, and what I am seeing. right? And then on the other hand, you see some CVs that are crap, but like, you just say,
Let's
take
give them a chance.
And then you realize that, oh my God, like this is an amazing talent I would have skipped out on. So that just establishes that first, we don't have the tools to help to discover the right people for business. So as a business owner, you're going in blind into the marketplace to find who is the person that I should work with, but you don't have any actionable, insightful data that you can use. So on one hand, there is what they report and what the reality really is, and then on the other hand, there's how do you really judge the effectiveness of their competence for your given context. So what Precision Match does is that it helps the employer to synthesize, this is what performance means operationally in my business. Not what I went to extract from Google, or I imputed, give me a job description for product manager, and ChatGPT just like gave you, no, but like my day-to-day reality as a line manager or as a business, this is what performance, means. And so it takes those metrics and simulates it into a link that is then serves as an application and assessment curator that you can then spread out. People are applying, and it's then telling you exactly, this is compared to your expectation, this is where this person is. This person is an effective fit for the role. This person is an average fit for the role. And these are all the things that you should consider if you're going to engage this person, which for me, it just saves the headache. So in the last, at work, we don't even read CVs, literally. Like, we don't, it's not something that we do, because we know that it doesn't help to judge, or it doesn't help people articulate what it is that they want to good at.
But we have so many CVs.
Yeah, there are CVs that exist. It doesn't mean that it's the most effective. But how we see it is that we are not reading out completely. We're making efficient. We're improving the outcomes, minimizing the errors and risk that comes with talent, right?
Okay.
As a business owner, right? And then increasing the margin of effectiveness and reducing the margin of errors.
Okay, so tell us more a bit about, so far, give us the eyes of the effectiveness and little bit of errors, because we are looking at, because it's almost like I'm in a coding class with you, so you have to simplify.
Okay, so
simplify.
Let's use a case study. Right?
So
right?
A company that's selling shoes, I like to use shoes a lot, and they're having to employ more hands, and they send CVs, and the CV and the people, you're not matching.
Awesome.
Good. So where does Precision comes in?
So in this case, a simple matter, right? All you just need, log on to Precision, and then you click on create an assessment, and all you're doing is putting in your criteria across a spectrum of skills. So if you want to do, what's your technical knowledge, right? Okay. Is it cobbling? Is it ability to handle customers? Is it fine drafting?
The way to handle a nail.
You input it there, right? You can input for soft skills, personality, work ethic, every single metric that matters to performance on the business, on that job, right? So you input that criteria, and it's simulating that. So we have a simulator that simulates that criteria into an assessment link. So take for instance, now in this case, you want to test your technical knowledge, right? We have a tool, a function that helps you to ask a default question, right? And just input a competence. So say I want ability to stitch, right? And so you just put ability to stitch, and then what it means for your business. So ability to stitch so that the customer doesn't see the
thread.
Exactly. So you input that into the engine, and then automatically it's going to be asking the candidates a very simple question. Tell us a challenge you faced with this competence. How did you approach it, and what was the impact that it made? You see that question? The wonders we have seen. So we realize that as people are answering these default questions, if you have mastery of a skill, right? It's very easy for you to articulate what that skill means. It's very easy for you to say, okay, I've been able to do XYZ with it. I've been able to do this. I have a process. So do you have a process? What was the result of that process? What we realized that automatically people were just super honest. Candidates were super honest. So people would say, not applicable. Like, I haven't answered any question, or I haven't dealt with any challenge. So how do you know that you have built competence is through the challenges that you have faced on the job, like you have been able to solve, right? And so that just puts things into proper perspective for the employer. If this particular candidate has not tackled or played around with a problem in this space, it shows their level of mastery and what you can expect on the job for what you. So it then quantifies that into actual, okay, over 100%. This is the reality. This person is at a 54%. This person has a 60%. 60% means average use. 74% means effective use. 90 and above means they have excellent use of that competence. So that way, no matter the skill or the competence you can ever imagine that you will need, you can ask and test a candidate on, which makes more sense than just testing for do you know how to make shoe.
Okay, so there's this thing that some people say that human beings have a way of dodging the system. Has that happened?
Funny enough, the funny thing about precision is that there isn't a way you want to
dodge the system.
Like it's who are you?
But even after we've imputed all of that,
so there are two things. On the employer side, they've set their expectations,
yes,
right? You don't know that expectation. Even the employer doesn't know what the
what
implication of what the metrics that he's selecting means, right? We at the models and the back end, we know what we're seeing. We know what those metrics mean. We know what that's what
data is collected,
right? So yes, a candidate now coming out, maybe you just read the entry statement or the job call for application that you put on LinkedIn, and you're like, okay, so if it's customer service now, I have to think like this, or I have to be like, you will just fail because you don't actually know what the criteria for success is
for the employer,
right? For the employer. So your best case is to just say, this is what I've known since. So
just confess the data.
Let's just be honest from the beginning, right? And we've also put checks and balances. We have proctoring elements. We have elements that check in from our practice. We have elements that help to capture. So at certain points, if you're acting funny, like your test will just end and we'll tell you the reason. Like, we noticed this is.
But sometimes, very good. Sometimes, what we impute as it's just like we're going for exam, right? What they're asking us, what they have taught us in class versus the exam that we are, and then the exam comes out and you don't agree. Does that happen?
Yeah. So one of the things I really love and I enjoyed while we're building precision was the fact that we're not testing the assessment models were not based on. It wasn't based on what you know. It's based on trying to understand how you think and how you approach.
Okay.
So that's where the behavioral science comes in.
Because I was asking.
That's where the behavioral science comes in. Because when you're on the job, how you perform is based on who you are and what you know. Like your person, that's your person
comes into play.
Comes into play. So if we're testing, and this is the issues that, and this is a big distinction between what we do and what other assessment or talent filtering platform does, right? Is that they're just testing for what you know, the aptitude, the knowledge, but how you are and how it plays out, how you think, how it plays out, even in interaction with even technical skills that you have, you're not able to judge. But with precision, you can judge that.
Okay, now so the question would be, what's the intersection between behavioral science, because we're discussing behavioral science, and AI? What is the...
So behavioral science is such that it helps to understand what drives people to do what they do, why they do what they do, what drives them, what's their motivation, how they think, how they are wired, what are their natural abilities and tendencies, and all of that. Right. In the context of AI, it's actually amazing because artificial intelligence is such that you are trying to look, yes, is a study of existing body of knowledge that has been recorded over time, right? Over time. And then taking that knowledge and then using it to understand what is the ideal present and what are the possible futures.
Okay.
So when you blend how do people behave, what drives them, what are all of those things, and then you blend that capacity with AI, right? What we then give is a very balanced and very close to accurate prediction of what the present with this person can be and what the potential for the future can be.
I'm glad we're in
And
Nigeria.
so, and so it then becomes like, wow. So yes, I guess that's why, you know, my name is like Oz. There's Oz in my name.
There is,
because
you know, there is Wizard of Oz inside. It signals on
it takes a level of
wizardry
to do that.
to do a lot of that. Now, it signals on 91.3. We're discussing behavioral science and artificial intelligence. We have questions, comments. She's here because we still have more to ask her. Call us, send us a WhatsApp message 0809 234 5913. Or you can call us 0201 5151 913 0809 191 3913. Now, here's the thing. We say that Nigeria doesn't have data. Has that improved so far?
So I love this question because I remember when we started working on models, right? It was like, what is your data source? And so one of the things that works with machine learning and AI is that you must have data. So we had to spend like 5 years, and some years before then, when I was just tinkering around, just being a hobbyist around this, right? Just finding ways to gather the data that is meaningful for this context. So do we have data? Yes. But how are people curating the data? It is where there's,
how do we interpret it?
Yeah, there isn't enough know-how. So I'm really glad that right now we're having data analysis, data science, you know, taking real form in the African and Nigerian ecosystem. But there still needs to be a refinement of not just web crawling, right, but going to the actual field where these people are and being able to aggregate information that is useful, because that data aggregation, that correlation is what then makes the models meaningful.
So far, having built different models, how many models have you built?
So I mean, Precision is like our third AI project that we've ever done, that we're now like commercializing, and there's commercial promise to it. Before now, we had done one where we were just focused on like kids and just providing emotional support while they were in secondary school through a chatbot called Waneni. And so it was a very fun project. We built it on IBM Watson. And it was interesting because we were seeing like early days of what a large language model, LLMs, would be. But like, we're in Nigeria, like, they're like, who are these nerds? Where are you coming?
No, but wait, hold on. No, don't
No, it was long ago. Like, this is almost 7 years back.
But that's a story to tell, because we're here now and everything that we're doing is tech, AI this, AI that.
Yeah, so we'll pursue potentially. So fund us, let us bring you back.
What did Waneni do?
So Waneni was thought that it would provide like early career guidance. So we used to have...
You know what I'm asking?
Yeah.
Schools are on break. We had children do graduation. That conversation is another day. But we saw a lot of nursery, crèche going to nursery, nursery going to primary going to senior secondary school. And now they're on long break, right? And how can you bring that back to help? Because teachers are happy that children are going home. Mothers, parents, everybody's like, okay. So how do we put them to work?
So this is a very interesting question. You see the thing about your calling and how it just pulls you back. Because all of these things really started because everything we're doing with Udemy and doing with behavioral science and AI and all of that really started because there was a gap in the education sector that we saw. And then for me, I was working in a school, serving in a school, like NYC, doing my NYC in a school, and then I just noticed that the students, what they are studying and what they are interested in, completely different, and like there was no balance. So it was affecting their academic performance. So one would think, oh, you're not studying well, that's why you're failing, but like, no, their natural abilities and what they were studying wasn't in sync. And so I had to work with the school then, pure curiosity, to like turn that around. And I saw that about 100 students who were doomed to fail, they're not going to be moved to the next session, they will be demoted, all of that, actually scaled. Why? Because they were now put into the right fit. So when we worked on Waneni was to provide that through a chatbot and provide early career guidance. And so we had kids as early as 8 years old using it within schools, within summer camps, right? They will talk to one any, it will ask them questions about school, ask them questions about their interests, ask them questions about, and then just give them potential areas they should explore during summer, and like areas
they should grow.
They should grow, and it will provide that report too for parents. So then many of those kids now, they are almost done with university, right? So it's quite interesting. Some are abroad, some are in Nigeria, and it's always good to see that had like significant impact. Was it revenue generating? It wasn't, but like it had significant impact, right? For both the parents, especially the children, because you know, it's one thing for you to be studying something, it's one thing for you to catch an early vision. And so what's happening with young talents today is that there's so much confusion as young adults because that work of early discovery wasn't done. There wasn't any investment made into it. Literally, you had to figure it out yourself. You have schools with guidance and counseling units that are not functional, or if they are functional, it's almost like they're not working with the tools that would even help, especially for the African context. It's always interesting because the way we wire differently, our ecosystem is actually very different, right? So we also need to create pathways that open up, because not everybody's going to be able to study abroad. That's true.
Not everybody.
Yes, so this is even something that the government needs to even look into. What are the career guidance interventions that we can put in early? You see, all these things I was struggling about with unemployment, unemployability, all of these things can be prevented early. Can be, I mean, as early as GS1. You can be put on the as early as primary 6, 7, primary 5, 6. They could start, because we saw 7-year-olds, we saw 8-years-old using Waneni at that time to figure out what they liked.
Where's Waneni now? Waneni is a chat box.
It's a chat box. It's in the cooler right now.
Okay, so how can we bring it out of the cooler? Because parents are listening to you. See, those children, the children that God sent into this station, this present Gen Z and Gen Alpha, most especially Gen Alpha, if you are not as
they are moving so fast.
Also, before they move, even you as a parent or as a guardian, right? If you are not, how do I use that word? Articulated in your brain, that's the word I can use. They will run you over. So how can we then? Because
start to channel their energy productively,
right? So that, because you talked about early discoveries, a lot of parents will say, "Oh, we don't have time," but the guidance, the uncles, aunties, good uncles, aunties, right, who would look after them and sort of just observe their behaviors. Yeah.
So one of the ways that we can do early interventions, and we do have that assessment model available for parents, right? And it's a simple thing. I mean, my number is like, so I don't know if I can call you
call your number.
So my number is 0803
becoming a small.
Okay, 0803 130 1167. So if you want to take your child through some talent discovery, discover what their personality is, what their interests are, what their abilities are, what their career possibilities and areas that you should, help them explore more this summer, just send me a WhatsApp message. I literally would answer you. So we actually have an assessment model that works for parents and for their kids at every level.
Because I'm asking because so my nephew graduated and then I went to go and look at those 6-year-old, 5-year-old, and one of them was doing back then, and children. I had to do a video. I spent my time that 2 days, and I looked at children telling another child who was celebrating his birthday that you're smart, you are caring, you look out for other people, and I was wondering,
how did that articulate?
How are they very good? How are they that articulate that they can tell what a next child is doing, and they all rallied around themselves, and I'm like, this is the future of the, but
like it needs to be harnessed.
Yes, I mean they were so articulate, and I was wondering if at some point I'm like, is it accent that we're teaching, or but I could just hear the vibrancy in their voices, and for some reason I sort of felt sad because if parents if we're not properly channeling these kids in the next 2 to 3 years,
they will grow our ecosystem.
So how then do we now preserve it, even with schools? That's where
we're very open. I'm very open.
You are a woman.
Yeah, I'm very extremely open to. Cause I remember we partnered with a couple of schools then to run that, and we're very gracious. I think some schools in Lekki at that point in time.
We need some schools in Ajagbadi.
We need all
Michael.
schools, honestly.
All of those schools.
All of those schools. And we're open to making it as simple as possible. As simple as possible. Yeah.
And then a part of me is asking where is the ROI in all of this? Like, we're having that conversation.
So the way we see it, right? And for me, I started this conversation. I said people are asset class, right? So one of the things that I know for sure is that when it comes to innovation, you always have to figure out what are the sustainable ways, right? Mm-hmm. So there will be ways. I mean, it's not unsolvable. That I know for sure. Yeah. But the risk of not doing it. And remember when we had to close down Waneni because we couldn't sustain the servers, like there was so much data, there was so much inflow, and we couldn't get venture capital for it at that time. Was the risk of that shutting that down was that the present day Gen Z workforce were those kids that were administering to at that point in time.
Wow.
They were in secondary school.
So we need to still go back catch them early.
They were in secondary school. So if you ever work with a Gen Z and you're ranting and you are part of the problem. I was part of the problem. Like we could have, maybe we should have stayed at it longer to figure out a way. But the risk was that now they're in work and we're all
we're complaining
that what's wrong, like what's happening, all of that, right? I mean, it's not all Gen Zs, that they're amazing Gen Zs that are centered and all of that, right? But when it's now the critical mass, it then becomes a challenge. This is why we need to intentionally invest in human capital.
If we don't invest,
it will come back to, I mean, so the risk now is that when you're supposed to be like chilling, you're going to be working.
Double working. Because you'll have to hold their hands.
Exactly, you have to hold their hands. When they're supposed to have, grown faster, you have to be holding, and that was not your experience, Jigga, because literally, as a millionaire, you are just pushing the workload, you figure out, you are a builder. That's a different archetype from...
We're trying not to say something, so we're laughing, right? So what are the potential risks of relying heavily on AI-driven behavioral insights for making critical HR decisions, such as promotions and layoff? Sorry. So here's the thing, right? It's one thing, you've talked about human capital, you've talked about human assets. We are assets as human beings, right? So it means that when we have imputed all of the data of how to think, how to do this, and then the human behavior now sets in. Where is AI to help me?
So that's a really cool question, right? So one of the things that I love, now it's not for all platforms, but for our platform, and even us internally, we've experienced it, where we use Precision. Precision told us, highlighted that, pay attention to XYZ, right? And be like, it's not such a red flag. We can manage it, And literally, just like 2 weeks after, the person starts to exhibit it, and it's such a big issue that it's almost like you have to then say, okay, might have to let this person go because this isn't productive for us, and it's also not productive for the person because there's a right fit, there's a right company for that person, right? So the thing about talent mismatch is that there's a wrong fit for your context, but there are a better fit for another context. Person. So where we come in, and the intelligence that this brings is now helping that person to find the right context for them, because everybody deserves their most productive place.
Everybody deserves their most productive
and they can produce where they are most productive. So a designer that I would have with me that isn't comfortable with unstructured, ambiguous data, right, would thrive in another context where there is a bit more guideline and structure.
It's not figure it out.
And not figure it out.
But for some of us, we what we knew was go and figure it out yourself. Because I and this is me. If somebody had to call me to order, I would say, see, I'll throw you into the ocean, but I'll wait for you. Because they had done it for me. So I felt that was the... But then as I also started...
you didn't realize that, no, that's not...
It wasn't working any longer. It worked for a while. And then... but you have to... The patience to...
So one of the things that those insights provide to you is to help you manage your expectation as a leader, right?
Okay.
Help you to understand as a leader, this is what I'm up against. If I'm going to take this person on, right, this is what I'm going to be able to do. And then helps you to think not just as an individual contributor that just wants to get the work output done, but as a talent investor. You're then making a critical decision. Is this
Good.
a talent we want to invest in,
Okay.
right, for our context, or is this somebody that we want to
For a short term.
for a short term? So those are the decisions that are then
We're back to the human
objective
brain.
and that now you have data to make those actionable decisions. It's not objective. It's not based on I feel like, oh, I like the way the person speaks. Like, the person is so nice.
One
like,
chance.
And then you're like, it's not English that this is. It's not accent does not mean that they produce a
Anything.
jigger. So you have to just to save everybody the headache. So that's why we exist, really.
Okay, so in Signals on 91.3, we're discussing behavioral science and artificial intelligence with the wizard of us. Wizardry of us. That's how I put it. Omozino Eguh. If you have questions, comment for her. 0809. So let me tell you what I'm laughing. Hold on. 0809 191 3913 or 0809 234 5913. So so I'm laughing because I'm laughing because how then do we use Oshodi? How then do we use behavioral science and AI for our leaders? Like, do our leaders need some? That's why I'm laughing. I know I'm trying to cause trouble. Hold on a second. Hello, good morning. Call us back 0809 191 3913 or 0809 234 5913. How do we use when we are going for election, we're always voting. So is there a way that we can avoid? Because this is you, proud Nigerian. Thank you that you have not Tapa yet. It remains small, but let's just assume that. Look at the work you've put in R&D, and sometimes we're wondering what's happening to the Nigerian R&D
Space,
and the R&D space. Because I heard you talk about the R&D space, and I'm wondering, can we? Hello, good morning. I'm trying to be gentle. Hello.
Hello.
Good morning. Please speak up. Call us back or send us a WhatsApp message 0809 191 3913 or 0809 234 5913. How do we? Where does the? You know what I'm getting at?
Yeah, I get it. So that's a very interesting. So with our political climb
Yes.
and the leadership, I think it just boils down to how do you see people and what is the value that you place on people, right? So we have the human resource.
We have it. We have.
the
You've
human
just
capital.
told us that human
And
is
it's so
asset.
interesting that we have the human capital so much that it's now at a place where we are exporting that capital, right? And is earning, is contributing to our GDP, right? So how do we double down and increase that investment on people, right, across all sectors?
Yes,
Across all sectors. It takes that vision of leadership to see that and then take action on that. We will not just put out a portal and say, oh, we're just distributing funding for, as if you're a business, apply for a grant, or if we want to train technology talents for technology talents' sake, or want to do, invest in the creative economy, but we're then looking at our people, because we have different institutions at different points where we can curate. Look at common entrance. At that point, we can curate data. Right? Look at JAM. We can curate data. Or what is the talent potential, and how do we begin to deploy this capital into sectors of the economy that would make us thrive, right? So how do we take interest, ability, match it with economic pathways that we've predicted, right? And then private sector pathways that are relevant and are growing and are blooming, that need talent pipeline, Right. And this is what the university system should be partnering up to do as well. So it still boils down to leader. Is it doable? It is doable, but it will take visionary leadership, because I know that we have the technocrats on ground that would support and back, that are willing. I mean, I've been in conversations of policy where you see that there is a willingness for this to happen.
Willingness is different from actual doing.
Yeah.
Actual doing, because we have so much talent, and I'm wondering, and I'm going to ask you that towards the tail end of the year, because we claim that it's tech era. Is our leadership ready for the tech era, and what is going to give back? Because you are here, you understand data, you swim in data, really. I am a financier. Where is, if I'm going to invest, what is the long-term
return on
of
investment?
that?
Yeah.
So it's like a...
Yeah, especially with our political climate, that, you know, one day, today is one thing, tomorrow is another thing. So it still was, I mean, I'm really praying for Nigeria that we get it right to our leadership. I'm thankful for the efforts that have gone into our democracy over the years, but I know that we're still far from what we need to be. But the truth is that one of the things I always believe in, the government of people. At the end of the day, something has to give, and it's still the people that will push to make that happen at the end of the day, right? So, I mean, look at fintech, for instance, right, and all the things that is enabling, right? At some point, something had to cave away, and it was people that made it happen. So I still believe in the power of the micro individual and its impact on shifting macro trends, right? And so that's why, as much as we would partner with governments to make those critical
mass work,
right, we still believe in making this accessible to that one business owner, that one talent agency somewhere, that one talent partner, that one professional, that is, so that they realize their agency, their internal possibilities, and begin to work towards it. And there's power in that. There's so much power in that.
There's so much power in that.
Yeah.
It signals on 91.3. WhatsApp is 0809-234-5913, or you can call us 0809-191-3913. 0809-234-5913. If you have questions, comments, you can send us a WhatsApp message. So I've actually I've asked the political question I want to ask, because why I even ask is, we have NIN, we have BVN, we have this, we have that. Is like, can we just centralize it? Do you think the government is making use of its tech ecosystem very well?
Well, I mean, efforts are being made, but it can be a lot better. It can be a lot better. I think that when it comes to agencies and collaborations, I think internal trust still plays a role, right? Okay. And just being objective to see that, okay, we don't need to replicate, we can synergize, right? And that's something that our ecosystem still needs. I mean, all across our ecosystem, we still need to learn how to synergize and collaborate, because at the end of the day, it still boils down to the one vision that we have. So what we're seeing that is happening is that multiple interests, multiple conflicting vision, there's no one central principle that we're working with. If the principle is that we want to be able to enable access for financial inclusion, and then for reduction of crime or fraud for our consumers and our people, that helps to streamline the objective. So different entities know what their role is, right, within, and they are working towards it. But because there are conflicting principles, conflicting visions, conflicting interests. It's just conflicting interests.
Conflicting
so even when you have a visionary leadership that wants to bring all stakeholders to the table, right, by the time you're going to have those tough negotiations, it then prolongs the process longer. And that's what is happening. So it almost feels like 4 years is not enough.
Yes, then they want more 4 years.
And then they want more 4 years. And it really speaks to two things. Yes, the complexity of our country, and also sometimes the willingness of that leader at the helm of affairs trying to push things forward, but also knowing that there's so much resistance and there's so much complexity. Actually, sometimes I empathize with politicians because like it can't be easy,
But we can data it.
Yeah, but we can
data it.
So it just comes with that willingness and that openness to break those red tapes and say, you know what, regardless of the red tapes, we have to get this done. Everybody aligned, and I'm seeing it happen.
Now, two things. One is, how has been your experience in the field so far, from NYSC till now? That must have taken a lot of work.
Yeah, well,
you like it. She's shy.
Every single experience, the best of it, the worst of it, the traumatizing of it, because I wouldn't say like all of those mix. Everything I've seen where we're at now and looking at Precision and all the good that it can do, right? I would say that it's been worth it. It's been worth it. I mean, there are lessons that I've learned, but like I wouldn't have it any other way. And the funny thing is that most of the lessons that we have learned, right, are infused into how we build and how we think about innovation. For instance, right, we have a principle at work. When it comes to innovation, we have 4 key letters. We call it PRIS, right? So innovation for us has to be people-centric, right? So we're not going to do any modeling or any innovation that would harm people or put people's life
in danger.
It has to be research-driven, right? Because we realize that when you go with your instinct and you just say, oh, because this problem looks like it's pressing, is it the right time in the market? Is it what the market needs? Is it relevant? Is for the context? Do we need to adapt? So if you don't do your homework, literally things fall through the cracks, so it doesn't make sense, right? Next is innovation in the sense of when it comes to our context, and even for many contexts, people think about innovation as linear, right? It has to be something different, but sometimes we realize that you can be taking something that is existing or useful in another industry or another sector and then bringing it to what it is that you need. So innovation in that dynamic way. And then fourth one, it has to be sustainable. So even if you are doing all the innovation in the world and it's not sustainable, like you cannot continue it. So that's what the experience we had when it was innovative, everything, but like it couldn't self-sustain itself, right? So how do we think about business modeling innovation in such a way that is sustainable? Because that way we'll be able to partner with more people when they say, okay, it checks all these boxes, why not? Why won't we give you your money?
Well done. Well, it signals on 91.3. Our time is up. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It was really nice to be here.
Like I call her Wizard of Oz, right? To everyone who's listened in, learned one or two things. We are looking for her. She's on LinkedIn. That's how she blew me up. So we come your way again next Saturday, like we always see on Signals. Dream again, create opportunities for people.
Awesome.
And because people will be people, keep creating opportunities. Have a wonderful week and God bless.
That was so beautiful.